What freedom do you have if you have all of your money in a bank that can freeze it? What freedom do you have if you have your money embedded in a currency where someone can print 4x more of it without your approval and debase it to zero? And the answer is, you only have conditional freedom until the government changes and they just take away that freedom. And then when they take away your wealth, when they take away your economic power, they're going to starve you to death, and then you've got nothing. What I would say to everybody in this room is, if you want freedom, if you want liberty, if you want to live your finest life, Bitcoin represents economic armor. When you put on the suit of armor, then no mayor, no government, no collectivist, no socialist can debank you. They can't take your money away. They can't impoverish you. Just like a gun is a deterrent, Bitcoin is a deterrent, because if you have wealth in Bitcoin, you have the option to move it to any jurisdiction, and you can keep it, and no one can take it away from you by a force of violence, no matter where you are on Earth.
Saylor begins by highlighting the inherent struggle between those who advocate for free markets and those who believe in central planning. He argues that socialist ideologies seek to control wealth and limit individual financial independence by manipulating currency, freezing bank accounts, and enforcing restrictive policies. Governments, through taxation, inflation, and regulation, exert enormous control over personal assets, businesses, and property. He asks a critical question. What freedom do you truly have if your money is entirely controlled by entities that can seize it, devalue it, or impose regulations that limit its use?
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space, and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
You know, if you think about the world today, there's just an inherent force. There's a struggle between capitalism and socialism, between people that believe in freedom and free markets and those that believe in central planning and collectivism. And if I'm a socialist, I want to take away your guns and your money. And Bitcoin is money that they can't take away. Like, what freedom do you have if you have all of your money in a bank that can freeze it? What freedom do you have if you have your money embedded in a currency where someone can print 4x more of it without your approval and debase it to zero? What freedom do you have if you own real estate in a city where the mayor can put rent control on it or expropriate it, or the governor can tax it away from your family? What freedom do you have if all your wealth is in a business where the government can tell you you can't operate, shut down your pipeline, tax your employees, tax your income, regulate your product? And the answer is, you only have conditional freedom until the government changes and they just take away that freedom. And then when they take away your wealth, when they take away your economic power, they're going to starve you to death, and then you've got nothing. So Bitcoin represents putting your economic wealth in cyberspace. It's beyond the reach of the mayor, beyond the reach of the governor, beyond the reach of any nation state, beyond the reach of any other company that would do you harm. It is the first time in the history of the human race that you can bind economic energy tightly to an individual, to a family, to your company, and you don't have to ask permission to have economic wealth, to have money. And you don't have to live in fear that someone gets up on a morning and just takes it all away from you to power you down. And so if I am conservative, I want a family, I want a company, I want freedom. Well, how are you going to pay for it? And if you live in a country like Venezuela and the currency goes to zero, you're going to be begging for food next week. Wouldn't it be great if I could take the wealth of my family and put it into a network that no one can loot, no one can corrupt, and at the end of the day, I don't want to gamble my future. I don't want to take my life savings and gamble in the stock market. I don't want to take my life savings and gamble that the mayor of the city won't just take my property away from me. I actually just want to own the wealth. I want to own my money. And Bitcoin is a way for you to convert your capital into digital capital that will last 1,000 years. Your country will be, your company, your country, or your family will be wealthy for generations to follow. You don't have to live in fear. And when you don't have to live in fear, when you have economic independence, you can actually stretch your time horizon out, and you can build an institution, you can build your family, you can build a life for yourself. What I would say to everybody in this room is, if you want freedom, if you want liberty, if you want to live your finest life, you're going to need economic power. You need physical power, you need political power, but you need economic power. Bitcoin represents economic armor. When you put on the suit of armor, then no mayor, no government, no collectivist, no socialist can debank you. They can't take your money away. They can't impoverish you. Just like a gun is a deterrent, Bitcoin is a deterrent, because if you have wealth in Bitcoin, you have the option to move it to any jurisdiction, and you can keep it, and no one can take it away from you via force of violence, no matter where you are on Earth. And so Satoshi gave us an opportunity. I think the key thing to keep in mind right now is that Bitcoin is a commodity. It is an asset without an issuer. There is no company, no individual, no country, no entity that can corrupt it. It has reached escape velocity. It has gotten to the point where it is basically a freedom virus, a truth virus, a monetary virus. It has been embraced by $1 trillion of smart money. That is, $1 trillion of real money has been invested in the network. It is 99% of the digital power on Earth. It's fairly unstoppable. And so if you're going to capitalize a company or a country, you want to capitalize it on property or a commodity or a network which is beyond the point where anybody could change the nature of it. And so that makes Bitcoin the most certain thing in the digital universe.
He envisions a future where Bitcoin becomes a multi-trillion-dollar asset, forming the backbone of global financial systems. According to Saylor, the United States has a unique opportunity to lead this transition. If the U.S. were to accumulate a significant portion of the Bitcoin supply, it could eliminate its national debt, strengthen the dollar, and solidify its position as the economic leader of the digital age. He warns, however, that if the U.S. hesitates, other nations such as China, Russia, or Saudi Arabia may seize the opportunity first, reaping the benefits of Bitcoin's inevitable growth.
The U.S. could own 20% of the network like that for free. The dollar would strengthen, the nation would be enriched. And the real promise is, if you own 4 to 6 million Bitcoin, you're going to pay off the entire national debt. You're going to neutralize it. We can generate a $50 trillion to $80 trillion benefit to the United States people, to the citizens, to the taxpayers, and we can do it simply by seeing the future. It cost $6 million to buy Alaska. The payoff was $1 trillion. Just like right now, you can literally buy it for a song and dance. That's the opportunity. The risk is that you wouldn't want the Saudis to buy it first, or the Russians or the Chinese or the Europeans. And there's only room for one nation state to buy up 20% of the network. And obviously, I think it should be the United States. I think it will be the United States. It's a way for us to enrich ourselves and emerge as a creditor nation in a matter of a decade. It's also a way for us to ensure that we're the economic leaders in cyberspace and the digital economy for the next 100 years. And if we do that, every one of our allies will follow us, and then all of our enemies will end up having to buy into the network once it passes 10 or 20 million a coin, and they will enrich us. The money's headed to cyberspace. Bitcoin is property in cyberspace. The manifest destiny of this country is to own cyberspace. And I think that President Trump understands the value of owning scarce, desirable property. If we go to cyberspace and we buy Bitcoin and the nation embraces Bitcoin, then all of the capital in the world, all of the Chinese money, all the Russian money, all the European money, all of the money from the 20th century, the money invested in a Siberian warehouse, the money invested in fill in the blank, anything you could possibly own in Africa, all of that capital is flowing into cyberspace. It's going from physical to digital. It's flowing from the 20th century to the 21st century. The 21st century is going to be 1 billion AIs thinking 1 million times a second. And what are they going to be using to move their money around? They're going to use digital money because they can't get a bank account. They can't get a credit card. I have to approve my wire transfers from my bank once a week. It takes about 20 minutes, and they ask me on the phone whether the money should move.
It's a good problem. What's 478,740 Bitcoin, Michael?
The computers...
We don't feel too bad is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get it. But my point we've been doing it that way for 50 years. And if you look at the way the digital economy is going to run in the 21st century, it's going to be 1 billion computers thinking 1 million times a second, moving assets at the speed of light. Bitcoin represents digital capital. That network is $2 trillion today. It's going to be $20 trillion in 4 to 8 years. It's going to be $200 trillion in 20 years. Then it's going to grow faster than every other asset in the world. It's going to continue to grow. The United States should own it.
Saylor argues that the world is transitioning from a physical to a digital economy. He envisions a future where artificial intelligence, automation, and digital networks dominate global trade and finance. In this digital world, traditional banking systems will become obsolete, and digital assets like Bitcoin will serve as the primary means of transferring and storing value. He criticizes the inefficiencies of traditional banking, where wire transfers require manual approval and can take days to process. Please like and subscribe.